Hey, welcome back out to Culture Redneck's garage here, where I'm actually not in my garage. I'm on lunch break at work, and what do you say we go ahead and cut us out that little patch for the inner fender well? Now I know that scoffers will scoff here, but that's okay. Sometimes you can find good metal. I like to use genuine, raw metal, 18 gauge, 20 gauge for my patches when I do them, but I like to save them for the real outer stuff. Occasionally you can find a piece of furniture or something this is coated. This is old. This is probably about 25 years old if I had to guess, but it's 18 gauge. And it is painted probably with an enamel or a urethane or something like that. It isn't powder coated, but anyways, it will work for a patch that we're trying to do. Some people don't like to use that sort of thing, but for this application I think it's okay. So here's what we're going to do. We've got our patch this template that we made last night, and of course if you saw that previous video, you'll know what we did there. Essentially, it's a no-brainer. You just set it on here. I've already got it traced out, the outer shape, and so what we're going to do is cut that little guy out. And one thing to note that I did here, added a little bit extra of a corner, because once that's folded over, it actually goes off of the original line of the sheet metal. So I'm giving myself a little extra so that it gets there and we can just kind of grind off any that isn't there. I'll spare you the cutting and grinding, and we'll get back to you when we got our cut. There we have the inner fender well patch cut, and as you can see, I'll try to do this one-handed here. It fits. What we'll do next is we'll take, of course it's dirty now, but as you can see all these little fold lines, we will mark all of those onto the piece of sheet metal. That way we can go to bending. Once again, I'll just say, most of office furniture and appliance stuff like that, I don't know, sometimes you might get appliance stuff that's thick, but most of it's usually thin, 22 or gauge or even less. I do not recommend using that gauge. Like I said, this one happens to be 18, and I will only collect it if it's something that thick. So anyways, let's get to marking and bending. Well, here we have the little patch here that we've gone in and we've sort of went in and sort of transferred our bending lines to, and hopefully, I know that we don't need a bend here, but it's going to have to happen for now because there's no way we can make the shape. But what we can do is we can come back in this area, much like right here, and I think flatten that out with the dolly and hammer. So let's go ahead and get to bending. If you have a vise and a couple pieces of angle and even a good old-fashioned W-shaped I-beam, you can do a whole lot of work just getting things bent with those. So what we're going to try to do, we're going to try to take that patch and sort of sandwich it with our little fold lines, sort of, maybe like a 1/16 of an inch off of the top of this, and we're going to come in and try to bend that by using a hammer. I left my hammer and dolly at home, so a good old ball peen will work for the moment, and then we can kind of fix it all up once I get back home. I like to give it just a little bit of gap, about like a 1/16 of an inch above the edge of that angle, and that helps me fold it a little bit better. This is that radius sort of turn, and I think what we can do is, once we take the hammer and the dolly, we can kind of come back in and sort of round that out a little bit and do what we got to do to make it fit. Then we'll tell you something I did. Sometimes I like to put these little arrows in, that way I don't get a case of the stupids whenever it comes to bending these over. So sometimes you have to sort of think about what you're going to get into whenever you fold them, and you know what you have to work with. So I felt like this bend was the best to work out first, and then we'll hit that one. So let's do it. When doing this, you don't have to, it's not a race. Sometimes you just want to take your time a little bit, because the metal will, you know, over time start to take shape, and you won't have to force as much, and you won't you know, weaken the metal any more than you got to. These clamps are fantastic. Sometimes you just can't sandwich this sheet metal inside here just because of the shape, especially if you have multiple bends. So just getting it to the edge and getting a little fold on it does quite well. That's about as far as we're going to go with this one for now, because you know, we're going to have to do some adjustment probably whenever we get it on the Fender. Uh-oh. I have to do something about that. Let's just get this for now. I really should have my gloves on. once you get that to take finally start to taking the turn, it becomes a whole lot easier. And there you can see where our bend is starting to come back around. That's what I was hoping it would do. I detest beating this in this position. So now I'm just going to switch over and put it right here and basically do the same thing. Well, you can't really see it that well right there, can you? But maybe that's a little bit better. We'll try that. This is where I typically will use my I-beam, because you can do essentially the same thing. It's starting to get there, guys. Well, let's fix that a little bit. Whoopsie. Now, there is a little bit of deformity in there still, but that's okay. That is going to work out okay, because what now I can do is I can start on a better flat surface, getting that to come around. Yeah. Okay, it's getting there, guys. Well, there it is. The patch, finally, we got that bent. It still needs a little work. I think we're just going to take the old hammer and dolly set and just try to clean up a little bit. I suspect this will probably need a little bit of massaging once we get it set on here. But there you go. It looks, at least it come out like we thought it would. So let's see how it looks set in place. Well, it looks like it fits pretty decent. It actually makes me very happy to see that, because, you know, I didn't know, we kind of, you know, I figured that we'd have to make those lines, and but I was really unsure how all this was going to come out, but I think that's going to come out all right. We'll just need to, like I said, smooth out some of these dings, but some filler will take care of some of that. Yeah, this is going to have to, you know, whenever people aren't in bed up above me and I can do some banging, we'll hammer this out. And the next step will be to go ahead and trace and cut out our parts and get this thing ready to weld up. Well, I think I'm satisfied with how this is kind of turned out, and it's about 10 o'clock at night, so it's time to hang it up. But no, I'm pleased with the progress we made on that. It looks like it's going to work out, hopefully. Cross our fingers there. But, you know, this kind of got me nervous working on this at first because, you know, you never know how some of this stuff is going to turn out, especially when it's just odd shaping like this. But you know what? It wasn't too bad. And that's the way a lot of work is with working on these cars and stuff. You know, you're always going to run into something that appears to you think is going to be difficult, and usually it's not as bad as you think. And then sometimes you do stuff where you think it's going to be simple and you find a lot of problems along the way. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen with these quarter panels back here. But anyways, you know what? We stay positive and we try to do what we can, and you know, it requires just a little bit of thinking, a little bit of problem solving, you know, just sort of knowing and getting a feel for what the metal does with the hammers. Little common, you know, objects you can find to work your metal. This is the next best thing to an anvil, in my opinion. I do a lot of getting things all cleaned up and smoothed out as I'm doing some of this work. But anyways, sometimes you just got to jump into it and get it done, and learn as you go. So that's it for tonight. Hope you enjoy, and keep following us for more work on the Plymouth. Thank you.